I think that with all of these things sort of happening, we just happen to be in a time where we don't know enough yet and we're not aware enough and we're not having the sort of action plans implemented in order for us to have healthier relationships with tech.
Ever feel like you're in a constant competition between your career and your husband's patience? Your kids think you work too hard, but hey, you're doing it all for them, right? The struggle is real, and I've been there too. Moments of feeling like a crappy mom and wife because once again, your kids had breakfast on their way to school, and you've got more important things on your plate than cooking and cleaning. Hey there, working moms who are juggling a million things and still wondering if you're doing it right. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a mama of 3, and married for 24 years. Welcome to the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast, where we dive deep into the messy, chaotic, and sometimes hilarious world of mastering motherhood, marriage, and business. I get it. Balancing it all was never the goal, but here we are, trying anyway. I'm here to share my journey and guide you through yours. No more apologies for being driven, and definitely no compromises on your dreams. Together, we'll navigate the challenges of being a powerhouse in both business and family life. Join me as we tackle the uncomfortable conversations from being the breadwinner to changing the rules of what a marriage looks like. Let's figure out how to parent in a working parent household without the constant arguments or guilt. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and this is Empowered and Unapologetic, where we embrace the chaos, challenge the norms, and strive to live life on our own terms. Get ready for some real talk, actionable tips, and a few laughs along the way. Hey, ladies, and welcome to the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. Today, we're discussing the art of intentional living with entrepreneur, speaker, and author Palak Dave. Palak is the founder of Embria, a lifestyle brand and community that champions reclaiming our lives from digital distractions. With over 300 curated events under her belt, she has inspired countless women to shift away from the constant noise of social media. I am guilty of this myself, and embrace meaningful face-to-face experiences. In this episode, she will share practical tips on how to slow down, disconnect from screens, and live in the present moment. You'll learn how to foster authentic adult friendships, the power of shared experiences, and how to incorporate intentional living into your everyday routine. This isn't just about wellness, it's about redefining how we reconnect, live beautifully. Pollock, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Veronica. Thank you for the intro.
Absolutely. So many of us, including myself, are caught in the trap of constant digital distraction. Can you explain why it's so important to disconnect and what impact digital overload has on our emotional well-being?
Yeah, it's definitely a loaded question because we are the people that are sort of in the era of being the experiment, right? Like we're
Yeah.
in that digital era. We
Hmm.
before this, we don't really have research to look back on. It's all happening current day. So we're unfortunately the guinea pigs in terms of what are those healthy habits that we can build. And I kind of equate it to smoking. At some point, people were allowed to smoke on planes. You could smoke
Yeah.
anywhere. And only over years and years and years, as the data started to come out, as health warnings started to be more public, research was done, did they start to actually publicize this information and create rules, regulations, guidelines, and laws on
Yeah.
why smoking is not so great for you. So I think that we're actually in that time where some people are aware of it. You're becoming aware of it because you know how you feel when you interact with your digital devices.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, tech can be used for good, but there's a downside to anything that you're consuming so much of. And tech just happens to be one of those things. So especially coming out of the pandemic, we're in a digital overload because things happen so rapidly over the span of 3 or 4 years where everything is being done on our phones, everything's being done on our
Mhm.
screens, we're working from home. You can do everything you want and not leave your house.
Everything.
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 You can chat with
Mhm.
your family across the world. You can work on your screen. You can order groceries on your phone. You can then
Yeah.
scroll social media and feel that you're connected to the rest of the world, even though that connection is surface level and not necessarily
Mhm.
going deep. So I think that with all of these things sort of happening, we just happen to be in a time where we don't know enough yet and we're not aware enough and we're not having the sort of action plans
Yeah.
implemented in order for us to have healthier relationships with tech. So I'm here to try and help guide that journey as to what we can do in our day-to-day life to reduce that overwhelm and that feeling of digital overload, basically.
As you're mentioning it, I never thought about it that way. We are 1,000% lab rats. Like, you're right. I've never thought about it that way. Like, holy shit, that scares me. It
Yeah,
don't it does scare me because I think about my kids. Like,
yeah,
it is an argument, girl. Don't get me wrong. I am taking that phone away.
yeah,
But it is an argument.
yeah.
Even like I find myself, once I'm done, I find myself going home and, my husband's like cooking. So it's like, awesome. I'm just going to kick back. I ask if he needs my help. The minute he says no, I don't ask again. One time's enough. I don't ask again. And I'm sitting there and I'm on my phone. And sometimes he'll, when he's waiting for something else, sit right next to me. And it's like, holy shit, what are we doing? We shouldn't.
Mm,
And it's only when he's on his phone that I realize, wait a minute, he should be doing something. Why is he sitting down? And it's like, wait a minute, I need to be off this phone. That I
yeah.
realize like change needs. And then I look at my kids and they're on their phone and it's like, oh my gosh. And I literally want to just throw my phone into the next room, right? Because it's like, oh my God, what's happening right now? We're being
Yes.
taken over.
Yeah, I love that you have that awareness around that because that's kind of the first step in noticing, wait a sec, what's going on? Why am I reaching for
Yeah.
this thing the second that I have a moment to breathe? I'm reaching for my phone. And it's just these behaviors that are now not even conscious, right? They're subconscious. They're just happening unintentionally. There's no thought around it. Sometimes we don't even know why
Yeah.
we picked up our phone and all of a sudden we're like 30 minutes deep into scrolling social
Yeah.
media.
3 hours.
Yeah,
3 hours.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or 3 hours.
It's
Exactly.
like
So I
one
will
in the morning.
I will say that these apps that we're on currently are designed to be addictive. That is literally what we know. We know people have come out and said it. People that have worked on the apps, they often don't let their kids go on them because they understand that the devices are designed that way. They equate it to going to a casino and a slot machine and the sort of the dopamine hits that you get when you're playing the slot machine. So we know
Mhm.
that research has come out. And
Yeah.
if you've read the book, there's an amazing book I recommend for anyone to read, whether you have kids or not, but it's called The Anxious Generation. And it is
Ooh.
all about the statistics around what has happened since 2012 and since the iPhone came out, and then the introduction of apps, the introduction of social media, what happened through the pandemic, and how children's behavior has shifted significantly since then, and how, as
Mhm.
parents and as people, we have to be so aware of how it's impacting further generations. And to your point about your kids, it's not up to the children to have the willpower to say, hey, I don't want to be on this anymore. Like, yes, it might not make them feel good, but they're kids at the end of the day. They're not going to be the ones to self regulate that behavior. You
No.
can't give a child something addictive and say, now create your own rules around this and your own boundaries and know when to put it
Mhm.
down. So there's so
Mhm.
much more deep work that needs to happen in order to help children and teens,
Yeah.
especially, regulate their behavior on these devices and get them not as addicted to social media, because one thing the research shows is it does not make them feel good. So we know that. And it
No.
doesn't make adults feel good either.
Yeah. No. And you're right. Um, I know for me, that feeling of wanting I thrive in being busy. And
Hmm.
obviously, I know there's so many things that are not healthy about that, and, like, we can go down the rabbit hole with clinically why they're not healthy, why it's not healthy, and it is just this, like, urge. It is 1,000% an urge, and, in looking at my own behavior and then watching my kids and my husband, it's like, holy shit, we're all addicted to this device. Like
Yeah.
this is no different. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, but it's almost as bad as like a drug addiction.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, I see people that are struggling with addiction and, eating disorders, substance abuse,
Mhm.
alcoholism. And it's those same patterns. It's just, oh, I'm just going to be on it for 5 seconds. It's not a big deal, or, and we romanticize it. Oh, I learn everything from TikTok. And it's like, holy
Mhm.
shit. No, what are you talking about? No, you don't. Like, let's not do that.
Yes, exactly. And to honestly, to equate it to a substance, I mean, I've heard so much around this that it is actually showing up more and more as an addiction that a lot of therapists are dealing with. It's coming up in
Yes.
relationships. There's articles around
Yes.
why divorces are happening because people feel their partner is addicted to their phone and they're going to bed
Yeah.
and feeling like they completely have lost that connection because you just pop into
Mhm.
bed and you're each on your phone and living your individual sort of virtual world, but just happen to be beside
Yes.
each other, which is really sad, and it's happening. And so the fact that you're noticing it's happening is the first step around it. And just there is so much coming out now in terms of what it's doing to us and why it's so important that we check ourselves. Like it requires, just like anything that you have too much of in your life, you have to develop a healthier relationship with it. And that means really taking a hard look at your usage, your habits, your
Yeah.
patterns, your routines, becoming aware, and then replacing those behaviors with other things that make you feel good.
Mhm. In your experience with Embria, you've hosted over 300 events focused on bringing people together. What have you learned about the power of shared experiences, particularly over meals, and how they unite people?
This is my favorite thing to talk about because everyone thinks that when you get off your phone, you have to throw it out the window and you have to go like escape to a forest and do a digital detox if you want to have a healthy relationship with it.
Girl, listen, I'm going to tell you, I have been guilty of it myself. I deleted TikTok from my phone in the morning, and I will admit that by 9 o'clock, that shit was uploaded and ready to go.
Yeah.
It
So
does feel that way.
exactly. So, which is why people think that they need to be escaping and that it will be like a month of a digital detox. And it's so
Yeah.
hard to do, which is why most people don't even think about doing it. But my favorite thing with the gatherings, and I've been doing them now for 7 years with Imberia, and it's like, I have noticed that when people gather and they fill their lives with these meaningful experiences, the tech is automatically put down when
Yeah.
you're having a really great conversation around a table, especially when it comes to sharing a meal together. Like, think about
Mhm.
Thanksgiving or think about the holidays when you're with people that you love and you feel nourished by. You're not as likely to try to find something more exciting on your phone. You're going to be more immersed in the moment and the
Yep.
people around you. And if you're not, then you kind of have to make that conscious effort to say, I'm going to go to that table and I'm going to leave my phone in the other room because when I'm at this table, I want to be present to the conversations. I want to listen. I want to open my mind up to what's happening around me, be present, enjoy the experience. And I find that having a meal with a group of people or even with one other person is one of the best ways for us to get off our phone. Funny enough,
Mhm.
but if we're conscious about it, then we can do that and we can do more of that and enjoy more of those moments together.
One thing that we do in our home is we'll have conversations, two goods and a bad.
Mm,
And that's when we get a little bit of less resistance when it comes to that's a rule, no phones at the table.
love that.
We'll have conversations, two goods and a bad, and by the time you know it, we're 2 hours in having this in-depth conversation about whatever topic one of my three beautiful girls brought up.
Mhm.
Because there's drama, obviously, there's drama. Or my husband created this tin and it has questions, like just questions about life. And so we have this tin, and the kids will pull from the tin, they'll ask the question, and then each one will go ahead and popcorn it to the next person.
Mm,
And each one of us, it'll cover a particular topic, and then we'll have a conversation about it. But I noticed you're right, kind of going back to what you just said, when we have those engaging conversations, nobody cares about their phone. Nobody's even trying to go for it. They're so in tuned with that conversation and wanting to get maybe their perspective across that nothing else matters. And I noticed also my kids, they'll have friends over for dinner and they'll also engage in, they'll prompt, like they'll immediately, hey, let's go ahead, and they'll initiate it.
yeah.
They'll initiate that conversation. So many women listening are juggling their careers, families, and personal lives. How can they practically integrate moments of intention, living without feeling overwhelmed.
Mm. Yeah, overwhelm is such a commonly used word today because there are just so many things that we're trying to manage and everyone is busy, right? Like we're all busy. We all have things going on. There's a million
It's
things
almost as if
to
we take pride in
do.
saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm busy."
Yeah, it's a badge of honor. It gives us a little bit of
Yeah.
sense of self-worth that we have a lot going on, and that's exciting. But if you actually assess and break down your time in terms of how you are spending it, you're going to notice that there are ways that you can carve out time in your schedule to fill it with things that actually light you up and things that make you feel nourished, things that make you feel healthy, things that are taking care of your mind, body, spirit, whether it's family
Mhm.
time, whatever it is. So the first step I would say is to actually do an evaluation and an assessment in terms of your day-to-day schedule. Like time log, actually sit there for maybe a week, 2 weeks, and just like note down where is your time going, especially if you have big free chunks of time and you're like, oh, it's a Sunday. I want to run all my errands today. I want to do my laundry. I got to get ready for the week. Just look at how much time each of those things are taking so that you can
Mm.
actually get a full picture of where your time is going and see where you have a little
Yeah.
free time. And then I like to say, when you look at your schedule, we all think that we don't have enough time to do the things that will actually light us up. We don't have enough time for the gym. We don't have time to meditate. We don't have time to journal.
Yeah.
We don't have time to do a creative class because we're so busy. But funny enough, if we implement some of those things, whatever it is that speaks to us, you don't have to do all of them. I think the wellness industry these days has made you believe that you have to do all of it, which is why we
Everything.
feel so overwhelmed. It's like, oh, I need a six
Mhm.
hour morning routine before I even get out the door. Like, how are you
Yeah.
going to possibly do that? So instead of thinking you need to do it all, start to get intuitive with yourself. Is there a new hobby that you could pick up that you can commit to for 1 hour a week, whether that's a dance class that you want to take, or maybe it's a pottery class, or maybe you're taking that hour to just take a walk in nature without your phone. But if you're implementing 1 hour a week, like all of us can find 1 hour a week in our schedules. It
Yeah.
exists. We just have to shift things around and look at our actual behaviors. So I find that, we're feeling overwhelmed, but then once you commit to that hour or you commit to something that lights you up, you're going to have so much more joy that comes out of that you will naturally be able to perform your other tasks in a
Yep.
more fulfilled way, a more efficient way, an easier way. Things will flow better because you're nourishing your soul and you're filling your cup. So
Yep.
it's almost like the reverse because you think, oh, my schedule's so busy, I got to take everything away. And it's like, yeah, you probably have to take some things away, but you also need to fill your time with things that make you feel good. And inherently, by
Mhm.
doing that, you're going to give so much more to the people around you, to yourself, to your work, to everything.
Yep. No, you're spot on. Um, I know being an entrepreneur, running a business, having a team, I have 1,000% been guilty of wearing that, I'm busy badge of honor. Like, sorry, friend, you're gonna have to schedule an appointment with me because yeah, I'm kind of a big deal, right? Like, but the reality is, like, I don't want to be a big deal. I want to be less of a big deal.
Yeah,
I
I
don't want to
think
be, you know?
I think that we're actually craving, we want to achieve, but we're also
Yeah.
craving simplicity. We're also craving the simplicity around life because we know that there's certain simple acts that just bring us so much more joy. And it's like, well, how can the two exist together? And one
Yes.
recommendation that I have for your listeners and for the women that are out there is actually having one day a week, if that's a Sunday, which is always a good day to kind of pick because I find that, historically Sundays have been a day of rest. Things used to be closed on Sundays. People
Yeah.
would be with their families, they'd be going to church, whatever it was that they would choose to do on a Sunday. But if you choose one day a week, I read an article that was really great in terms of picking a day a week where you actually don't schedule things in and you don't feel like you have to get all this stuff done. It's more of a day of being or even an afternoon of just being. But being
Yeah.
means don't pick up your phone and fill your hours with scrolling.
Yeah.
It means just allow yourself to be. Let the day take you where you feel like going. Let the day take you to a coffee shop, maybe go for a walk, maybe play a game with your kids. Like do something that is just allowing you to be fully in the moment and not thinking about your to-do list, not thinking about all the stuff that the week has to hold, not thinking about what you didn't get done, but more of just being because it's in the act of being that we're going to be doing less and we'll allow ourselves to give ourselves that space to then live a more full life and feel more present in our lives and feel more alive instead of rushing to the next thing over and over. And then we'll
Mhm.
look forward to those times like every week it'll be
Yes.
oh, Sunday afternoon, that's my time. I'm just going to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what I feel. I'm going to listen to myself and my intuition. Do I want to make pancakes today? Do I want to like take a
Yeah.
nap on the couch?
Yeah.
What do I want to do? And it's a luxury because we don't get that time anymore.
Yeah. I remember going to we were in Europe for a couple weeks, and holy shit, I was like, okay, screw it. I'm letting go of everything and we're just going to live here. Like
Mm,
because it was so simple.
yes.
So so simple.
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns, some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time! You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
The digital world is constantly vying for our attention. What are some effective strategies or boundaries that we can put in place to balance screen time with real life moments? So you mentioned, picking a day, right?
Mhm.
How do we do this like Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
Because I feel like during the week, awesome, it's happening. I have my kids; they could give two shits if I have work. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care.
Yep.
The kids don't care. They're gonna occupy my time no matter what, or mine and my husband's time. I mean, we do have family day every Sunday, but let's say for during the week,
Yep.
what can we do when we already have so many things on our plate?
Mhm.
How can we bring it back?
Yeah, I have two sort of practical recommendations for that. So, one of the recommendations has to do with your actual usage of social media. I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, well, I have to be on my phone for my business. I have
Yeah.
to be posting. I have to be checking my DMs. That is fair. I get it. If your business has an online presence, I understand that. But often when you're checking your DMs or you're posting, you're also scrolling mindlessly and you're also checking out stories and doing all
Yeah.
the things that then put you in this loop of, a very long period of time that you didn't plan for. So when it comes to your actual social media use, and if you're an entrepreneur, you're someone that needs to be on there, then I recommend going on with an intention in terms of what is the activity that you are actually going to be doing when you open up that app. So I recommend having different slots of time for different activities that you're using social media for. So if you know it's a time that you're posting and maybe engaging with comments that are coming in, carve out whatever it is, half an hour, whatever you need to post, carve out that time to post. If you're going to go engage with your community and you want to answer your DMs or you want to send some
Mhm.
messages to people to set up maybe a coffee date or a collaboration, set aside time just for that activity. So by
Yeah.
splitting our social media time into different buckets, it allows us to feel that social media can be used for fun sometimes. Maybe it's just to like scroll and you want to see what's up and you just do that for like 20 minutes and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then maybe another chunk of time is to actually use it for messaging. And then another chunk of time is to actually use it for posting. But by splitting the activities up, it allows you to reframe the way you feel about it. Because if you go on and you do the behavior that you intended to do, you're not going
Yeah.
to come out of it feeling bad anymore. You'll be like, oh, yeah,
No.
I wanted to post and now I posted. Great. I'm done. I'm going to leave this aside till tonight. And then tonight I'll check in and maybe I'll answer some messages or some comments or whatever. So
Mhm.
that tip I feel like helps you be a bit more intentional with the time that you spend on there. And then when it
Yeah.
comes to busy schedules, my second sort of tip or piece of advice on our day to day is to incorporate rituals and traditions in your day to day that make you feel really good. So this doesn't have to be a whole commitment of a class or whatever. Obviously, I think that's really great for your hobbies. But if you're looking at your day to day, Monday to Friday, it's super busy throughout the day. What's a little ritual that you can do maybe on a weekly basis that gives you a
Mm,
bit of excitement? For me, that looks like on Wednesday mornings, my husband and I will go to a local coffee shop. We'll take a walk. We'll walk our dog. We'll go grab a coffee and a croissant and we'll walk back. And it's like an hour long of just time that we're spending together. We're doing something we enjoy. I'm getting a little treat. And it's like a fun experience that I look forward to. And I look forward to that time spent with him. I look forward to like discovering a new coffee shop or getting something that I love, like eating a little pastry and going for a walk. And I just find that it breaks up your day and it makes you understand that those are the moments that actually matter in your day.
yeah.
When you do that,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is why I do everything I do. Like these are the moments of
Mm-hmm.
my life that I actually enjoy and I want more of. And so it allows you to slow down and savor those moments and enjoy your day to day life a bit more instead of just like chasing your day and never feeling like you've ever caught up.
I am totally gonna steal that idea. I'm totally
Do
gonna
it.
steal that
Do it. I
idea.
totally recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are times when it's like a work lunch or a work breakfast, and I'm watching all of these people around me, like, just enjoying their morning, and it's like, why do they get to do that, but I don't? Like, here I am, and don't get me wrong, if I'm meeting someone, I love that time networking, but it's work. It's still work as opposed to the person right next to me that's just kicking back, just probably came from the gym. And when I've done that maybe once or twice where we went to, like, I had the team, we all went to a Zumba class, and after went I took everybody to breakfast, and
Aw,
then we were here. Oh my gosh, night and day, totally different. I didn't feel so rushed.
yeah,
It was it was nice. It was
yeah.
nice.
It's an ironic thought to think that when you spend more time doing more of what you love, you'll
Yeah,
actually feel better and
I know.
enjoy
Isn't
your
that so
time more.
crazy?
Isn't it a crazy thought? Yeah, it's so wild, but it does make a difference. And you do notice that. And all of a sudden, your team will feel closer to each other and
Yep.
gathering in person and sharing a meaningful experience. Like those are the exact things that I think lead to a fulfilling life. And so I love that
Yeah.
you do that with them.
Yeah. You've written a book, Beautiful Every Days, where you talk about living in the here and now. Can you share a few practical ways our listeners can bring more mindfulness and presence into their everyday routines?
Yes, for sure. So the book is full of activities that you can do. It has photography and a guidebook in terms of each activity and how you can actually turn those simple moments into memories that you love. But I'll share a few of them. So one of the ones that I love doing, there's one called the art of tea, and this can be the art of tea or coffee. And I love this because most people drink some sort of beverage on a daily basis and you're just doing it quickly. It's like a mindless thing. But if you actually stop and slow down and turn it into an experience, it can be a really beautiful way to like connect with yourself and maybe to the beverage that you love. People swear by their daily coffee or their daily
Yeah.
tea. And so, why not create an experience around it? So, in the book, we sort of guide you through how you can actually like carve out time, even if it's 10 minutes in your day. But it's about being mindful. Like, there's different cultures in the world that actually do this very well. For example, like a Japanese tea ritual. If you look at it, it's so artfully done and it's so beautiful and it's meant to be intentional. And although you're just consuming a beverage, why can't we turn those like everyday moments into these elevated experiences that make us feel good? Like I always
Yeah.
say that it's those little moments that make up our entire life. Like, sure,
Mhm.
we can have a vacation or you could be excited about moving to a new house or, getting a promotion at work. Like those are all great things and they're big things. But what about those little daily rituals? Another one in the book that I really like is called Just Because Cake. And it's kind of an ode to the fact that when you're a kid, you can eat cake at any time, like no
Yeah.
excuse. Like, oh, I'm just going to have cake and I want cake, or I ask my parents for cake. You go to a birthday party almost like every weekend and everyone's eating cake. When you're an adult, you like maybe we'll have cake on your birthday or someone else's birthday. But why can't you just like buy a cake for yourself or bake a cake for yourself
Yeah,
just
why can't we?
why can't we?
Mhm.
We
Yeah, why
can.
can't
And
we?
we lose that sense of play and wonder and like fulfillment in a way that's just lighthearted. And so just
Mm,
because is like an ode to everyone out there who feels like you're not celebrating yourself for just being
yeah.
you or on a daily basis. So go pick up a slab cake from your local grocery store that's like full of sugar. Who cares? Or make a cake and just make it a fun experience and create it for yourself. Like do something for yourself with zero expectation of what the outcome will be. And you'll realize that it's in the act of actually having the experience that you feel more fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so true. We often hear about self care, but it can feel like another thing to add to our to do list. How do you define self care in the context of intentional living? And what simple self care practices can we incorporate to truly enhance our quality of life?
This is a great question because self care over the past few years has become so trendy in a way that we
Yes.
seen an array of things that you can do. It's like add in, as I mentioned before, the journaling, the meditation, the walking. Now it's add in the Pilates, the cold plunge, the sauna sessions, the
Mm-hmm.
LED masks, the face masks, the this and that. Like you see everything, and you're like, obviously, I don't have time for all of this, and I feel like I can never catch up. And self care, the opposite of what that is we're not caring for ourselves at that point. We're trying to keep up
Mm-mm.
with society and the expectations of what it takes to actually mean to be well. And so
Yep.
I actually like the term of just like thinking of your well being. And to me, self care equates to what is it that I need to feel well today? And so when I look at my forms of self care and my well being, I wake up and I listen to it from a very intuitive standpoint. I definitely add in some sort of movement, but I'm no longer strict with myself. I used to do a ton of HIIT workouts and I would go to F45 like 6 times a week religiously. And of course, it's important to be active, but it's also important to honor your body and listen to yourself
Yeah.
and see what you need at different times of the month and different times of the year and seasonally and all of those things. So what I do is I am very intuitive and I have a toolkit of things that I can use. If I feel like journaling, maybe I'll spend a few extra minutes journaling that morning. If I feel like meditating instead, maybe I'll meditate, but I won't journal that day. If I want some
Yeah.
form of movement, I'll think about what my body needs. Does it feel like an intense, sweaty workout, or does it feel like maybe a stretch session or Pilates, or maybe it's an hour-long walk on the beach with my dog and my husband? And I feel like by listening to myself, I'm incorporating these practices of self care more naturally in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. So I highly
Mm-hmm.
recommend not adding more in, but stripping it away. Like strip it all away and think of what
Yeah.
you intuitively actually are craving and give yourself, your body, your mind more of what you actually want in your life, not what you think you need, but what you actually want.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that it's listening to like what's happening for you as opposed
Yeah.
to just checking something off the box.
Yeah, and we have so much information out there. There's no shortage of articles and lists and TikTok videos and Instagram reels that will tell you like do this for a wellness practice and add this in and you're just like, "Well, I just don't have time to add in
Yeah.
another thing." Like how
Yeah.
what something's got to give. And so what I say is, yeah, let something give, but think of what you're truly being called to do. Don't just do
Yeah.
it because everyone else is doing it. Like if your body is craving a run outside because you want fresh air and you want to feel invigorated, go for a run, do it. But don't feel like you have the pressure of doing something because everyone else is doing it or someone's telling you that's what you need to implement in order to feel that you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. I love that. Lastly, for those who feel we are too plugged in, what's one small action they can take today to begin reclaiming their life from digital overload?
My big action that I swear by is to not check your phone first thing in the morning. Like it's so
Yes.
simple and it sounds like, oh, we should all do it. But honestly, that morning time when you're just waking up and your mind is fresh and you just had a good night's sleep, hopefully, when you wake up in the morning, the last thing you should be doing is consuming what everyone else is living, essentially. Like you're opening
Oh,
up a
yeah.
portal to say, oh, so and so's living like that. Now I feel pretty crappy about myself. Or, oh, I got this
Yeah.
email and it's pissing me off. And now my whole day's
Mm-hmm.
because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So allow yourself to have whatever amount of time it is. For me, it's actually like 2 hours in the morning before I check my phone. So I will go 2 hours of just, I'll do my morning like movement. I'll do something that feels intuitive to me, whether it's journaling, whatever. I'll have a smoothie. I'll maybe go for a walk. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to work. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to open up my email and I will check my social media to see how everything's going and just check in. But to not do that first thing in the morning and not have to have all this noise coming at you. Like, I
Yeah.
just truly believe that you have to protect the peace of your own inner well-being and your own mental state. And by carving that time out for you, you're just setting yourself up for success for the rest of the day and therefore week and therefore year and all of the above.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed there was there was one time I forgot what I was there was something on my thread, my For You page on TikTok, and all of these things kept on coming up. And I remember being pissed at Willie. And like he had just woken up. Like literally just woke up. And it was like, God, I can't remember what it was, but as you were talking, that came up for me. And he was like, "Is it Shark Week?" Because that's what my husband calls it. He calls it Shark Week. He's like, "Is it Shark Week?" And I'm like, "No." And I remember coming to my office. I'm in session with my clients. And I'm in session with a couple, and they're going at it. And it's, as they're opening up and as they're sharing and processing through, um, their issues, it was like, oh my God, I just did this to my husband. I literally just did this to my husband.
Oh,
And I
wow.
realized, where did that come from? Well, it came from that negativity. Whatever was
Oh,
on there, my husband didn't even do it. Didn't even do it.
yeah.
But it was that negativity, and it weighed on me. It was so
Oh,
interesting. And I was like, oh, I can't do this. I cannot be on my phone before I get out of bed.
I love that
Mm-mm.
you noticed that, because I think it's so important to check in with ourselves. Like, I've done it before
Yeah.
where I would have, scrolled for 40 minutes, and I have a day where I'm like scrolling a bit more, and then I'll be totally moody, totally snappy, like wondering, why am I so off? I'm irritable. I'm like feeling impatient.
Yeah.
Why? And then it's like, oh, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
I just spent 40 minutes doing something that did not make me feel good. It left me
Yeah.
feeling depleted instead of
Yep.
fulfilled. So
Mm-hmm.
why would I do that to myself? Like,
Yeah.
it's questioning that and recognizing the feelings and then correcting the behavior moving forward so that you can
Mm-hmm.
do what feels good for you, for your husband, for your relationship, for your family,
Everything.
instead of just getting looped back in and getting sucked back into something that doesn't leave you feeling so good.
Absolutely. Pollock, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us today. I know so many of our listeners are feeling inspired to reclaim their lives from the digital noise and start living more intentionally. Before we wrap up, can you tell us where our listeners can find you if they want to connect with you to learn more about Embria?
Yes, of course. So you can find me on Instagram at Paldave, Paldave. And what I say about Instagram is I love it for the connection. So send me a DM and I will respond to you. That is why I use it. It's the only reason I'm still on it, is because I can actually connect with people around the world. So you can find me there. You can also find me at embiria.ca, embiria.ca. And you can find out all about my Embiria Social Club. That's a global community that connects women around the world through connection and meaningful experiences if you're
I
looking to
love that.
do that. So you can find all the information there.
Thank you again so much for joining us. This was amazing. And I
Oh,
feel like, I don't know, I feel refreshed. I feel ready to go.
I love that. Thanks, Veronica. It was a great chat. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you ladies have found value in this conversation, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, leave us a review, and let's keep moving toward living more mindfully, one day at a time. And of course, get her book. Get her book. As she said, she has plenty of strategies, resources, and activities to help you and your family connect. Until next time, stay empowered, stay intentional, and stay unapologetic. Bye. Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz. And you could take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz. veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.